So now I'm going to show you how to make the raspberry jam that I made yesterday. I'm making another batch today. I'm using the Fall Blue Book of Preserving recipe, and also there is a recipe, and it's exactly the same on this Fall liquid pectin. There are a lot of different kinds of pectins, so research maybe what kind you want to use. Here I've got my raspberries already washed and starting to warm up. You just want to mash down your raspberries. They mash very easily. You could run them through like the food processor, but or even a blender, but for the work and the cleanup, this potato masher is all I'm using. Expect to have your kitchen blown apart. I have got stuff all over the place. You know, I've got jars from what I made yesterday, and things tend to scatter about. And I've got lots of counter space, and we're using it all up today. So here I have my canner, and it's about half full, a little bit more than half full of water, and I've been letting that boil. And what we're going to want to do, I've got this overhead microwave, so I just have to pull it off of here for a moment. When you're canning, you have to fill your jars of food into hot jars. Your lids and bands also have to be hot. So I learned this trick that I just throw them all into the stock canning pot together. I used to do them all in a separate saucepan, but as you can see, the stovetop is pretty full here. You want to keep on hand several different things. This is a can lifter, and these are the handles. This grabs the hot jars out of the water. I always keep my tongs around. Extra spoons. And you want to make sure that any of your jars sunk so that they are filled full of water. And if you need to top it off with more water, do that, because some of your water, you know, may evaporate also. And after your jars are filled with your jam, they're going to go back into the canner. So we're just going to get a little more water to put back into there. You can put the lid on, and that will help that to boil a little bit faster. Now our raspberries are coming along nicely. We need to add our sugar, and you can do straight sugar. This is a quart of raspberries mashed, and then you want 6.5 cups of sugar. I did yesterday 3 cups of sugar and 3 cups of honey, and it was really, really sweet, and it had a strong flavor of honey. So I'm just going to reduce that a bit. I think what I'm going to do maybe is, let's see, 6. Let's do 1.5 cups of honey today and see how that works out. I ran out of the honey that I had, which we usually just buy, you know, whatever store brand, but there's lots of different honeys you could use. This is pure honey, all natural, and this is just the Walmart Clover honey. And like I said about having lots of tools around while you're at the stove, I just set myself up with anything that I might need, because yesterday I was going back and forth getting it all. So we're just adding and bringing to a boil our sugar and our raspberries. So the goal is that we're going to total the 6 cups of sugar, but that was a bit sweet for me, so I'm reducing that. So we had 1 1/2, so that's 2 1/2, 3 1/2. We'll try that and see how it works. Smucker's makes a low sugar preserve, and I like that pretty well. The idea is that I like the raspberry flavor and I want to be able to taste that, not all the sugar and everything else. I decided to do this because raspberries were on sale for $1 for their half pint. And I've only made the jelly and jam a couple of times, and it's always raspberry. So we just want to get this boiling again. This is at a rolling boil in the canner. And a tip that I saw in the batch that I made yesterday, this is the Ball low sugar or no sugar pectin. I used this yesterday, so I just wanted to try the liquid pectin to see how that worked. But it said to add like 1/3 of a tablespoon of butter, real butter, and it will reduce the foaming that happens in the cooking process. So I just grab a dab of butter and throw it in there. Yesterday, because you get the foaming, I have on hand a slotted spoon, and what we'll do when it starts to foam is we'll just skim the foam off of the top and discard it. And then, like I said, also we're using the liquid pectin today. Once this starts boiling, then we'll add the pectin. The biggest part about canning is the preparation, getting everything out, all the reading and the research. I think, you know, these women that have been doing it forever, and men, it's still a full day process because you've got stuff, you've got clean jars, you've got lids and bands, and you just want to have everything there and ready. You don't want to get halfway through a recipe and find out you're out of something because, like, your water's always boiling and you can have several pots. An industrial stove would be great at this point. I've heard of some women having like canning parties where they'll do a recipe together. I personally could not have a bunch of people in my kitchen while I was trying to do this. I've roped off the kitchen with a laundry basket so the baby doesn't come in, and you know, you're transferring big heavy pots of water and fluids over to the sink. You just don't want to be stumbling over anybody else. So we're getting a good boiling going on here now. A couple other tools that you'll want is, I have done canning in the past without this funnel, and it's a special canning funnel. You see it's extra cut out. You could take an older small funnel, like this kind with the narrow, and you could cut that bottom off if you didn't have one of these and you were part way through. This was $1.23 at Walmart. This was in a kit that I got in the automotive department at Meijer's years ago that had three funnels all together for, you know, a couple dollars. So if this is all you have, cut the bottom off because it'll be a lot easier. Or fashion a funnel for filling the jars. And I'll show you why. You're ladling and you want to put this into this small jar. It's a lot easier just to stick that in there and funnel through there, especially for the smaller jars. So we've got our good boil going on now, and I'm just going to go ahead and add this pectin. It does not taste good. I read a little bit about like adding citrus and things like that, and I suppose probably before there was pectin, they just used you know, whatever natural ingredients before they developed the pectin. Pectin is water, fruit pectin, citric acid, and lactic acid. It says it assists in the gel. Potassium citrate and sodium benzoate. So, more ingredients we can't pronounce. Which with canning, that's always, you know, something that you want to, most people like to do is get away from all those preservatives that you can't pronounce. Breyer's ice cream years ago, where they made commercials talking about all the unpronounceable ingredients in the ice cream, and they had this cute little kid trying to say everything. Now, if you forget to add the butter, you can add the butter at this point, which is what I did yesterday. And you can see that it's boiling, and there's just a slight foam, but not really much, and it dissolves right down. The foam I had yesterday was boiling right up, like if you were to boil macaroni. So this is coming along real good. And our next step, I think it's time to take the jars out, because after you add the pectin, you're supposed to boil that for 1 minute. And this is where you get into the part where things are going faster. So I'm just going to take this pot right off the stove. And we'll just show you over this way again. The nice thing about having the multiple counter spaces. So, tools in hand. You're going to want to remove your hot jars and empty the water out of them also. You can, and I have done it in the past also, do this step in the dishwasher if you have a really, really high setting, like the antibacterial setting on your dishwasher, and I did that successfully. So all I'm doing is taking these out and I'm setting them on a towel on the countertop. And these are designed to hold, the basket is designed to hold 7 jars. If you wanted to use the smaller jars, you could probably fit in a couple more because they're just slightly smaller. And if you're using quart-sized jars, obviously it's going to be less, like maybe five jars. So I'm just taking out all my lids, and then your bands are in there also. And you're going to be handling those, so you want to make sure that you can do that. So point is that they are hot. And this is where doing the smaller pot is helpful because I'm having a little bit of a hard time getting the ones that lay down in the bottom. I'm just going to shut the jelly off. So the stove top is off right now. This is like going fishing. Okay, so I'm just going to move this out of our way and put it back on the stove so that it keeps hot. And now I'm just bringing over the raspberries that have been cooked down. Now it might seem like it's a little bit thin, but as it sets, after you've canned it like overnight, it will cool and thicken. Let's make it so you can see a little bit. Okay. Now what we're going to do is take your funnel, put it on top, and the jars are hot, so if you had some delicate gloves that you could handle the jar and bring it over to the pot, that would be fine also. Or if you're very skilled, you can just hold the pot and not use the ladle. If you're going to do these like for gifts, like at Christmas time, it's really nice to use the decorative smaller jars, like these two. So I always make a couple of those to have on hand because it seems like invariably there's that neighbor that we forget, or the mail lady, something like that. Now I've lowered down on my pot and I'm more comfortable with lifting it up. So I'm just going to pour that right into the jar. And whenever I do this, I always just go ahead and fill the canner with as many jars. As it'll fit so that I don't have a shortage. Now in this case I could use one smaller jar, but I just have one more small jar. So there's going to be just a single jar with a little bit left. So just putting this stuff aside, now you just want to put your lid on top. And then follow with your band. And you want to snug those on pretty well. And then I'm just loading them right back into this basket. They're going to go back into the canner for 10 minutes. And what that does is seal the jar. seals out any bacteria from entering the jar. And the heat also seals the jar with that wax ring. And I've seen a lot of people, the bands, they've taken them off for storage because it's going to take a can opener to pop that off. And after these come out, the jars have always, the lids have loosened, so you want to retighten them also. So now this has got the to prevent these from tipping a little bit, I'm just going to go ahead and add this extra jar to help kind of keep things in place. And I'm just going to go right back into the canner. I'll show you here. And then we're just going to move that on back onto the heat. Set our timer for 10 minutes. And you're going to want to put your lid on that for that 10 minutes. When the 10 minutes is done, we'll take that off, pull the basket out, and then we're just going to towel on the counter, put the jars on the towel to cool in a spot where the kids can't get them, pull them down on the floor because they will be hot and the contents will be hot also. So that's how you make raspberry preserves.